I don't know you, and you don't know me, but who you probably will know is this guy, who you probably saw over at Audio Extravaganza this year, or more likely on Twitter or Instagram. So for those wondering what's happening with the Audio Extravaganza 5 video, I have no idea when that's coming out. It's a big fucking video. I'm having storage problems with both my laptop and my phone right now. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So yeah, it'll be ready when it's ready, I guess. So what I'll be doing for the meantime is working on smaller videos like this, because, well, I hardly upload on this account anymore. I mean, I upload, what, once every 2 to 3 years, so, hopefully you like this one. So, without further delay, let's jump right into how I made Lord Harry number 6, Patrick, whatever his name is. So the reason why I decided to make Lord Harry over the other Up Mountain engines like Caldi, Gubred, or Wilfred even, is because, well, no one's ever done him. I've seen around about 2 people make a working O-gauge model of Caldi, and I know there is a certain Gauge 1 project in the work that plans to adapt the Mountain engines, wink wink. Seriously guys, if you plan on adapting Digi Points and Devil's Back, hit me up, I'm right here. I'll be able to send this guy over for you lot to use. But yeah, I've never seen anyone do Lord Harry before. Yeah, he's not my favourite mountain engine, that belongs to the GOAT of course, but he plays a very important role in the book. From being a big-head snobby little twat that couldn't get along with anyone, then being humbled by derailing at the summit, causing him to lose his name as a punishment, to then learning sense by rescuing a bunch of injured climbers by pushing through a dangerous gale, and then being rewarded by earning a new name. Honestly, Lord Harry has the best redemption arc in the Railway series if you ask me. And why did I make him in his unnamed condition? Well, if it wasn't obvious, I didn't know how to make the nameplates. So, I received the chassis at the end of May, and started putting this guy together at the beginning of June. For those wondering and might want to make one for yourself, he uses a number 5 power chassis kit in 32mm gauge from Boot Lane Works. Put the chassis together in no time and was left with the wheels and axles. Putting them together, it was nighttime when doing this because I was a bit impatient, but I had the moonlight to guide me. Thanks, Moon. Then it was time to make the outside frame rods, using an old pen which was a nightmare to cut and get straight. And then they were glued on using epoxy. Made the counterweights, and plopped them on, and now he has outside valve gear. And time to make the body. So, believe it or not, this guy's body is completely scratch built. That's right, you heard me. Scratch building a Thomas model in the year 2025 when 3D printing is available? So, the reasons why I didn't use a 3D printer to make this guy is because 1, I don't know how to use one, 2, I'm poor, 3, I have no room or space whatsoever to put one, and 4, I think scratch building is just a lot more fun personally. So, anyway, the outline of his footplate was measured and cut from plasticard, same with his boiler which came from a PVC pipe. So an important thing when scratch building in a certain scale is to have a good idea how big you want the model you're making is. So I made a rough looking Thomas style workman for scale. We'll call him Willy for now. More parts were measured, cut, and glued into place like his cab, and whatever those side things are that protect his valve gear. Plopped him onto the chassis, and he's looking good. I used metal from an AU vodka can to get around those curved areas under his water tank. That would have been too difficult to do using plasticard. So originally I planned to use plasticard for his outside frames, but these were proven to be too thick and the wheels and rods kept getting caught. And when I would eventually add the rest of the valve gear, they'd just be sticking out too far. Kind of like how that new diecast range is looking. So, that idea was scrapped. After a lot of brainstorming, I decided to use more cans for his frames. One side of his frames being a Fanta can, and the other using a Guinness can. I don't have a drinking problem, you have a problem with me drinking. Cut the top and bottom off, fold it in half and glue it together, measure out and draw the pattern I need to cut out, and well, it worked. Then it was time to secure him to his chassis, since he was just resting on it. I cut and drilled some bits of acrylic that I stole from school over 8 years ago. I knew it coming handy someday. Bolted it together, and perfect! Snug as a bug on a drug in a rug whose name is Doug. Cutted up some more frames, and then it was time to test out more of the valve gear. And boy oh boy, I was a very happy man when I got this working. Added some additional details, and then it was time to work on his funnel and dome. To make them, I used this material called polymorph, which are these little plastic beads that you need oil and water and melt. Do not use your hands to get these out, you will burn yourself, so I recommend using a kebab stick. When it's all melted, you're then able to mould it around like clay. But this stuff does dry fast, so dip it in water again and continue to mould it to your delight. My only gripe with it is that once this stuff dries, it forms in layers, which makes sanding annoying since the shave off parts don't properly come off but stick together and instead form like this ugly ripple effect that doesn't come off properly. It's annoying. When everything was stuck on, I went ahead and puttied them all up and soon got to sanding. I also got a hold of some trying rods and continued working his valve gear, and soon his cylinders, which were a bitch to do, but the pain was worth it. Soon after everything was put together, he got his first coat of primer. Went ahead and added some filler into areas I missed at the time. Also worked on the back of the face because the mounted engines are just built different. Literally. And completely coated his dome in filler, which became a never-ending series of priming, filling, sanding, priming, filling, sanding, priming, filling, sanding, filling, priming, sanding, priming, filling, sanding, priming, sanding, priming, sanding, sanding, filing, filling, priming, sanding, priming, filling, sanding, priming, filling, sanding. And then parts of him were taped up, and he got his first coat of purple, and god damn! I could just swallow this guy whole. He just looks so good. For those wondering, the purple I used was Paint Factory Colour It's Proper Purple. Soon after, he got bandaged up, and then he got his first coat of red applied. The red I used was Humble Gloss Red 19. And once everything had dried, I hand-painted his frames and funnels with a coat of matte black, and then it was time to put all the pieces together. Then it was time to paint the chassis and wheels. I used a silver Sharpie to colour in his wheels and rods. Then it was time for something I was dreading to do. The lining. I was struggling for the most of this project on how I was going to do it. I could use vinyl like the original show did, but I don't want to go through the pain of doing those curves, let alone how thin I'm going to need to cut it. So I looked around my room, see what I had in hand that could do the job, and then I found it. Pintasa acrylic paint pens. That'll do the trick. So I lined out the easy parts like this side and soon got to mask up his cab. Started paint penning and fuck. It's okay, it's fine, it's nothing to worry about, just keep lining and everything will end. I don't know how this kept happening, but I'm either guessing the masking tape wasn't sticking down properly, which I know is bullshit, because I made sure that stuff was stuck down. Or the paint pen's inks were so liquidy, it just kept seeping through. But at least it was fixable. So, how I fixed it was spraying the purple paint into the lid, grabbing a paintbrush with a square end, and paint over the mistakes. I wish I could do that with my life. It's not perfect, and you can very clearly see the brush marks depending on the lighting, and I will admit, it felt like torture doing it. Paint, mess up, dry, pen, mess up again. Paint, mess up, dry, pen, paint, mess up again. Mess up, paint, dry, 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 mess up, dry, mess up again. I spent an entire day doing this. Well, time to move on to his faces. His faces were sculpted from clay, as akin to how the original TV series did it. At this point in time, I hadn't touched a piece of clay since the pandemic, so I was a little worried that I would be a little bit rusty in my old clay sculpting skills, but to my surprise, they came out pretty good, I would say. You still got it. Also, the clay brand I use for those curious is air drying detailing clay. Like it says, it's air drying clay, or you can be impatient like I am and just throw it in the oven to bake. But be aware, once this stuff dries, it can be very fragile, so be careful when handling this stuff. There were a few imperfections that I had to do, such as sanding down the parts where I accidentally left a fingerprint or two, and filling areas that I may have sanded down a bit too much. Other than that, his faces were looking good, I'd say. At this point, while I was waiting for the clay to dry, I decided to work on his iMac. I will admit it's not the best and I'm not all that happy with it, but it works, you can pose it around, plus I was a bit of a tight deadline for 45 at this point. When that was done, I also went ahead and cutted down the cylinder rods to be more accurate to the real life engine, and that season 4 Peter Sam BS.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
This became quite a tedious job because his rods just kept jamming when going in and out the cylinder. Now I get why these guys were replaced a whole season later. But hey, I got there eventually. And now, time for the worst part of the project. The motor. So, I knew from day one I wanted this guy to be RC. How I was going to do that, I have no idea. So I ran down to my local B&M, bought an RC car, and see where things went from there. So I did a little bit of dissecting, cutting and soldering, and he ran. Alright, let's do a little test. See if this works. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, so the valve gear could do a bit more. Now for the next problem. How's he going to get power? My original idea was to cut the battery box out of the car. Did that, and found out it was way too big to fit inside his cab. So I had to look around and see what else I had on hand. Found another battery box with a bunch of tiny LEDs that I was likely never going to use anytime soon, so I used that instead. Turns out it was way too weak, to the point where the motor would barely move. So I had another look around, see what else I had on hand, and I found an old speaker I made from a Pringles can back in school, which had a 9-volt battery connecting clip. I yanked it off, attached it, and to my absolute shock, it worked. Oh, bollocks. Will this work? You fucking don't you dare. There we go. You know what, that isn't a bad speed for him. I might stick with this. Come on. Come on, please. He was a bit of a speedy boy, but he worked, and that's all I cared for. But then there was trouble. So, to make sure the motor didn't jump out of the chassis, I made sure to glue it in place. But a tiny droplet of super glue got into the motor's mechanism. It still worked, but it started causing the motor to cog, pretty much becoming useless now. So, I ordered a new motor, which took way too long to fucking arrive, by the way. When the thing finally arrived, I attached it, and the exact same thing happened. It started cogging again, and it didn't want to run properly. I was in disbelief, gutted, and I was running out of time. So, the only thing I could do was continue work on Lord Harry by putting little details on him. I first weathered him up with some matte black paint, worked on his back face, which was made of card, and built his whistle, which was very difficult to carve out, believe me. Added his buffers, I'm guessing that's what they are or something, I don't fucking know. The back buffer was made out of plastic art, while his front buffer was made out of metal, so that a magnet could grab hold of it, so he could pull rolling stock, which we'll get onto in a sec. Blacked out his cab using card to hide all the electronics that will be shoved in there, made his water gauges that he has on the side of him, I'm guessing that's what they are, I don't know. And soon afterwards, his number transfers arrived, and they were soon attached to the back and side of him. And soon got to work on his roof, which was also made from a Fanta can, and it was a real bitch to sand down and get smooth. And visually, he was complete! I'll keep this part as short as I can since there's not really a lot to say about the truck, and plus I made it within the span of a week. The truck's body was made from a 16mm Chorus Guard Coach kit by Railroad Models. When the kit arrived, it didn't come with any bogies, so I had to look all over the place online to find a pair. I found a site that laser cuts bogies for a reasonable price called Bowater Models. I ordered a pair and found out they wouldn't arrive until 6 to 8 weeks later! At this point in time, I only had 2 weeks left for Audrey. I tried to get a refund, but I wasn't able to for whatever stupid reason. So, I had to look on eBay and found an O-scale American boxcar for a reasonable price. At this point in time, I continued working on the body. The body was made out of this weird compressed cardboard-like material, which was relatively easy to cut. Scissors are not recommended. Used plastic card for the sides, cut out some thin lengths of cards to create the wood paneling, and soon, she was all put together. Yes, it's a she, read the book. Putted it all up, and sanded down. Made the fences from strips of plastic card, and added whatever this thing at the front is. And then she was primed.
So one thing I want to mention here is how the fuck did Gunfire and Peter Edwards find reference images of this thing? I searched everywhere on the internet. Twitter, Facebook, Google Images, the Wikipedia, even a fucking Snowden book. And you know what I found? All I found was this fucking image. That's it, this image where you can only see the fucking thing. How? How? Side tangent over.
I hand painted the body with a couple coats of burnt umber and added the doorknobs on. By then, the boxcar arrived, took off its bogies and attached them to the truck and gave it a quick roll. Fuck. Added a little weathering and glued on the windows, which was a nightmare because the glue I used kept misting everything up, so much to the point where I wasn't able to fix it in the end. Glued on the magnets so she can roll along with number 6, and added her roof, which was also a bitch to do. The last thing I needed to make for her was her face. I had it all sculpted out, and I didn't paint it until I got to my caravan where I was staying during an Audrey 5. Whoops. And she was complete. I will admit, I'm not all that happy with her, to be honest. She looks a little too big and is more in scale with 16mm than in O gauge. I mean, look at the size of her compared to this Season 4 Rusty replica. So I might completely remake her from scratch again and might sell the old one off, who knows. And now I can happily say that this project is 100% complete. Oh. So, after the second motor, I had a feeling there was something wrong with the circuit board. So I ran to my B&M again and bought another RC car. I bought a smaller one because I was being cheap and purely got it for the circuit board, and found out the way the thing was wired up meant I couldn't use it. Thankfully, I had kept the receipt in case this would happen, so I could return it. But then, my dog got a hold of it, and pretty much wrecked it to the point where I couldn't return it. Great! That's 15 quid gone down the drain. So, I went to my local model railway club for help. We used the original circuit board and did a bunch of testing, and it all ended with the same results. It just kept cogging. So, by coincidence, some other club members had a spare motor in their toolbox that they were never going to use, so they were kind enough to give me a Mashima motor used in O-gauge model kits. They're bigger and a lot more slower, which I preferred personally. But it did mean I did have to cut into the body and chassis a lot more just for it to fit. And to my surprise, we managed to get it working completely fine. Then, just as I was about to head home, a wire on the circuit board detached. This is fine, I can easily attach it at home. If my dumbass didn't attach it to the fucking antenna like a retard, causing it to overheat and completely destroying the circuit board. So, another RC car had to be bought. This time it was from the same brand as the original one. At this point, I only had 2 days left before I needed to head off to Audrey, so I needed to work fast. So, after a bit of soldering, I fucked up again. Nah, I'm only joking. It worked! So, I glued down the new motor, using epoxy this time, and I let it dry. Screwed the body back on, and at long last, this little guy was finally complete, with only a day left to spare for Audrey. So that's about it when it comes to number 6. Overall, I'm incredibly proud of how this guy came out, and honestly, he's my most impressive and best model I've ever made. And I'm really glad that everyone else seems to love him too. He's had quite the adventure as well, going off to Wales, getting to interact with a lot of the original TV series props that inspired his existence in the first place. Hanged out with a bunch of goobers, and one day, he'll climb the very mountain that inspired the original book he came from. Like I mentioned earlier, the things I think I could improve upon would be redoing his eye make, and using like vinyl for his pupils, and I wouldn't mind using some 3D printed faces for him, and I still think I could have done a better job with his paint, and maybe get some nameplates for him someday.
So, most common question I got over at Audrey is, will I make another mountain engine in this scale? And my original answer was no. But, you know, after some time's gone by and I've had time to think about it, well, never say never, I suppose.
A few days later, number 6 reached Devil's Back at 5:15. He was on his way with the truck to fetch railway staff from Summit. All clear now. Don't waste time, the wind's rising. We'll have a gale in half an hour. He went inside to set the points. But the telephone rang, and he came out looking worried. There's trouble, he told the crew. Come in and discuss it out of the wind. They filled the truck's big tank with water, and sandbags ballasted the van. The wind whistled round them as they worked. What is all this? Asked number 6. There's been a climbing accident, explained his driver. Culdee and Catherine are bringing up a doctor and a rescue team. But Catherine's too light to stand this gale, so we'll go up ourselves. The water and the sandbags will steady us, and if you can keep going, we have a good chance of getting through. Can you do it? I'll have a jolly good try, said number 6. When Culdee arrived, the doctor and the rescue team changed trains. The manager was there too. Splendid, he said, when he saw the preparations. Now, number 6, it's up to you. The guard signalled the driver, and they were off. A real job at last, crowed number 6 exultantly. Now I'll show 'em. Now I'll show 'em. Leaving the shelter of the station, the full force of the gale struck him like a blow. He didn't feel so brave now. All he wanted was to get out of the vicious, stinging, icy wind, which seemed to come at him from all directions. The truck lurched and swayed as the wind tore at it. It whimpered and groaned as though in pain. He wants to go back. So do I, but we can't. The manager's relying on me to save those climbers. We must go through. We must. We must. Slowly, doggedly, he struggled on. Till in shelter again on the other side, they climbed the final steep ascent and rode triumphant into Summit Station. They brought the climbers safely down, and an ambulance whisked them to hospital. Next morning, their leader came to say thank you. My friend Patrick, he said, hurt himself helping me, but he's mending now thanks to you and your brave engine. We'd all be proud if you'd call him Patrick too. The manager smiled. Well, number 6, would you like that? He asked. Oh, sir, yes, please. Patrick and the others are all good friends. He is still brave, still ready to take risks when needed, but he knows now that it is stupid to take them just for the sake of showing off.